Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Mouthy Money podcast. We are back after a little bit of a hiatus. I have actually just been away doing some parental daycare leave as we bridge the gap for childcare for my 10-month-old son. But I'm very happy to be back with Chris Tute, Head of Consumer Finance at MRM. Chris, hello.
Hi, I'm pleased you're back too. Lovely to see you.
We're going to be talking about childcare a little bit later, but we've got some exciting topical stuff to get through as well today. So we're starting off with a big announcement made. When was it made? Was it yesterday morning?
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, yesterday morning.
At the time recording.
Yeah.
Oasis are getting back together. Now, what does this have to do with personal finance, you say? Well, Mr. Tute, you happen to have attended Oasis at the peak of their powers. Tell us about that.
Yeah. The peak, it felt not quite at the peak, although it probably was. So, as you can probably tell from my hairstyle, I'm, over 40. But as you probably can't tell from my hairstyle, I was a big Oasis fan. Still am, still great. Although I have to say, Liam and Noel, the older they get, the more they make my teeth itch a little bit. But there we go. But, love the music and fully bought into the whole scene back in the day. And in 2000, they played their Familiar to Millions tour, which some of you may have seen as the live album that they produced. And I was at the Saturday night for that and got up 6 months before that, because it was in June 2000, and got the tube to Wembley Park because I live not too far away from there, and queued up outside Wembley Stadium with a lot of other excitable teenagers to try and make sure I was front at the ticket window when it opened at 8:30 in the morning or 9 or whatever it was. I got there about 4 a.m. or something stupid like that. There were people there in tents and all that kind of good stuff. Anyway, what has this got to do with personal finance rather than me going down memory lane? Well, each ticket costs £27.50, Ed. And I know that because I've seen the stubs online. I don't remember that. I've lost my stubs, sadly, or they're somewhere in the loft, I think. Anyway, I bought 6 from hard-earned money saved up by sort of doing, shifts around A-levels and stuff like that, and brought all my pals cash and paid at the window and came away with these prized possessions, which were then saved in a very special hidden place in my house for 6 months until we went along. But £27.50 feels like a steal based on current prices. Because, you've had all the Taylor Swift chat, and I think she was charging somewhere face value between like £60 and £200 for her worldwide sellout tour in the UK, which I have to confess I don't know that much about. But Oasis are looking at, 150 or something? So I don't know how that relates with inflation. You probably know.
I mean, there's a number of threads here. The first one, when you paid that £27.50 for your ticket or whatever, close to that amount, do you remember the sensation of feeling like that was expensive, or did that feel like good value for money for you at the time?
I was a teenager, so I had no sense of what good value for money was at all.
You just wanted to see the band.
I just wanted to see the band, but I didn't have to save up for months in order to get it together, shall we say. I think it was one shift in the local pub or whatever it was I was doing at the time. The thing with the reason why we kind of compared the Taylor Swift numbers, though, because we don't actually know how much the Oasis reunion tour stuff is going to cost yet for a kind of typical ticket. We know that you can get a Taylor. I mean, obviously, this is a very difficult thing to do because the demand is crazy for it, and they have. I don't know what they do. They have like. They kind of do they do it like Glastonbury, where you have to enter a draw almost to get a ticket? I don't know. I'm not quite sure. I bought tickets for Fontaines DC recently, so they're another band that I like quite a lot. And you could get pre-sale access by signing up for their album that would then be dropped into your Spotify or something. I don't know. Anyway, I didn't bother doing that just because I thought that, Finsbury Park, there'd be plenty of tickets. I just went on the morning and got it. But yeah, for Oasis, I'm sure they'll have some kind of sign up for this and you will get this type thing. Yeah.
A ballot or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
But what was interesting is, I mean, comparing it to Taylor Swift, who's kind of like, the powerhouse of music of the 21st century and, of 2024, and a cheap ticket being around 60 quid. This is not a scientific comparison, but if you were to take the £27 or £28, I think I put in the Bank of England calculator, goods and services from the year 2000, in order to buy the same goods and services today, you would need, drum roll please, because I need to look at my notes, you would need £51.55, which to me suggests that, so obviously inflation is, a thing, and we all know that now, but Taylor Swift's theoretically, notionally, the tickets are inflation busting in terms of price. I think there's other threads here as well, because there's a lot of discussion about why they're doing this, and it's, one of them, I can't remember which, because I have a very hard time telling the difference between the two, because I don't know.
Should I take over at this point, Ed? You talk about the divorce.
Yeah.
Noel is getting divorced from his second wife, Sarah McDonald, I think.
Yeah.
I've called it the Pay Me Now tour, which might be a bit unfair. I don't know their personal situation, but obviously, Be Here Now being their third studio album, this is a different motivation for them to going on tour. Apparently, they're going to net 50 million quid between them, the Independent suggests. Wow. Worth doing, I would say. And apparently, Sarah got the mansion in Petersfield in Hampshire, and then there'll be ongoing maintenance payments for the kids and things like that. Anyway, I'm not a divorce lawyer. Please don't take any of this as read. But if you're thinking about why someone might do it, there is another personal finance topic there about, amicable breakups. Hopefully it is amicable. And the kind of cost of that. But yeah, you can see why maybe ticket prices. There's also a demand. It's quite interesting, that quite a lot of younger people who, and I think I've seen a lot of social media. Paddy Power did a good video on this, actually taking the mickey out of people my age, saying that you should be able to pass a quiz on Oasis B-sides before you are allowed to buy a ticket. So maybe that's how they should sort the pre-sale out, Ed. By the way, I would pass that test with flying colours, but I am not sure if I'm going to go. I don't know. We'll see. I've seen them 4 times and really enjoyed it. Probably will change my mind once the tickets go on sale. I've had a few excited texts from friends, but 150 quid is what has been mooted. And again, that is to be confirmed, but that just feels a bit spenny. That does just feel, and as you said, it's 3 times the rate of inflation. I do understand other people also be taking their chunks out of that Ticketmaster with booking fees and all these kind of hidden charges, which just add up to more resentment for laying the money out.
It is also, the way the music industry has changed as well is extraordinary. If you think about the invention of things like Spotify and Apple Music and all, streaming platforms, that artists don't make money out of, selling albums anymore, do they? They make money from the tours. And if you are a true fan, listening to the album isn't enough. You have to go to the tour. And the Taylor Swift phenomenon, that's kind of, for me, it's the ultimate expression of fandom, isn't it? Go there, see them in real life. That is, you are a true fan by doing that kind of thing. So for me, by extension, I think, that's why people are willing to pay so much money and go to such lengths. I remember seeing stuff with the Taylor Swift. Americans were finding the cost of the concerts so expensive that they would pay to fly to Europe to watch the concerts. And then that consequently would cause Europeans to complain that, I'm at this Taylor Swift gig and everybody around me is an American, what's going on, kind of thing. And it creates these very strange kind of, effects, that I'm sure a behavioral economist would love to do a doctoral study on. But yeah, I don't know. I just find it all very interesting. I don't get the hype. I've never been a person who went to concerts. I listen to music on Spotify, but I'm a bad music fan generally. So.
I am a live music sort of person, I have to say. That Oasis gig in 2000 is up there in seminal moments with my pals at Link Times. I'm screaming Champagne Supernova into the skies over northwest London. It's a very happy memory. The Swift thing's interesting because the pricing's different in America, isn't it? The face value thing doesn't really exist. Kind of goes up with demand, which makes that a whole lot more volatile and will also make me less likely to do it. And the other thing over here, which is a thing which is around kind of the football, which I've touched on with you previously, is this resale thing. And I did hear a lot of people, the pressure on people with kids of a certain age who are massive Swifties to find the money in order to do it was huge. And then people were selling them on above face value. I heard stories of people paying several £100s for 2 tickets to go to Wembley. On the flip side of that, the feedback was that the kids absolutely loved it. It was like lifetime ambition achieved, and the atmosphere was so positive and all the rest of it. So, there's a different type of value, I suppose. Maybe me going in 2000, maybe that's been amplified by, like you said, the kind of distance between them or whatever. Wembley in 2000 was great. It'd be interesting to see whether Wembley in 2025 matches up or how different that would be compared to that. But you're paying for different things, and it all depends on your notion of what value is and whether it's worth it, whether you've done it before. And, maybe me standing there at 41 won't be the same as me standing there at 17. I don't know. I'll keep you posted, listeners, as to whether or not I take
that brings me to the other kind of thread in the Oasis, this kind of story around Oasis getting back together, Labour's back in government, all this kind of stuff. And it's this whole, like, are we about to see, the revival of Cool Britannia type stuff? And it's, the year 2000, Blairism at its kind of peak, and, Spice Girls and all that kind of. And I get that sense of nostalgia. I remember watching. It's actually funny. It gave me a sense of nostalgia because I kind of had absolutely no cultural reference points to it at all. Was watching The Last Dance on Netflix. This is so random. Yeah, the thing about Michael Jordan and them doing the, like, what was it, the triple or something like that. They won six championships with the Chicago Bulls in the 90s. And obviously it's all about that, and it's about Michael Jordan being this incredible athlete. But there's like an undercurrent there about how really, like, America and, like, almost Western culture itself was peaking at this point in time. And Michael Jordan was the absolute zenith of that peak and the extraordinary kind of feats that they achieved doing that. And I found that absolutely fascinating. And there's been a few kind of comment pieces have popped up quite quickly after this Oasis announcement. There was one in Unheard, which is quite a good website, and then there was one in by Louis Elton in Unheard, and then there was one in The Critic by Ben Sixsmith, basically just saying, well, we've got a Labour government, Oasis are back, is Cool Britannia back? And the really sad, depressing thing is Keir Starmer at the same time was giving a speech about how terrible everything is.
Yeah, no, it's going to get worse before it gets better, Ed.
Nothing but tough times ahead. And it's quite, I don't know, I don't want to get too philosophical because we're supposed to be about personal finance here, but it is a bit of a kind of, we're in a bit of a sad place, aren't we, where things can't only get better at the moment, and that's where we are. And
the nostalgia element, I think, is double-edged. That's the other thing that's with me. It's like things have moved on, and why are we recycling? Why is a band recycling from 25 years ago the biggest news story of the it suggests to me. I heard someone say somewhere else, I can't remember who it is for the life of me, I do apologise, what 21st century culture is 20th century culture replayed to us through 21st century technology. And it does feel a little bit like, these two things are not necessarily compatible in my mind, and yet they're being forced to confront each other. That was of its time. It was fantastic. And I'm not sure being, surrounded by fellow men in their 40s doing it would have the same power. But then again, like I said, from what I gather, they've got loads of younger fans as well. So maybe this is their moment, and move aside all these like me and let the kids have a go at it as well. But, I would like to see some newer bands come through. And they are there. Fontaines DC, like I said, I'm going to see them next summer. They're pretty good. I'm not going to list anymore at the risk of trying to sound cool and failing miserably. But it's an interesting phenomenon on a number of levels, like you say. Is Cool Britannia back? Well, according to Keir Starmer, not yet. Although you did see that thing about equities. Did you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That was quite an interesting thing.
Yeah, that was the last thing I was going to mention. Yeah, which this was from Lawrence Hulse on Twitter, X, I suppose you call it now. A fun-looking graph, basically. In the early 90s, Oasis formed, and UK equities were trading at a significant discount to the market, the broader, global stock market. Oasis broke up 15 years later, when the UK stock market was trading at a big premium to the rest of the global market. And obviously we're at a big material discount again. So is the UK stock market turning on an Oasis penny? I was just trying to rack my brains there to throw in some sort of reference to their songs, but I don't.
An album, you can't think of anyway. Will we slide away into further market oblivion, or will it be champagne? Exactly,
champagne supernova in the UK equity market.
I'm trying to think about something wonderful. Let's move on before it gets worse.
The end button now on the podcast. Just end it there. Finish.
Fair enough.
That was really. We'll put that in the show notes. I thought it was quite just a bit of fun, tongue in cheek, but yeah.
Yeah, it's nice.
So the next thing I think we were going to talk about today, and this is something we wanted to talk about for a little while now. Actually, you and I have had conversations about this one, and I feel like we could probably dedicate like a whole episode to it. And for any financial advisor out there who might be listening to us who looks after high net worth, I want you to get in touch with us because I'd love to hear from you about your take on this. So it's Euro Millions, and this is, completely frivolous conversation here. We're going to have a little bit of a more serious chat to finish the podcast off. But Euro Millions is, it kind of ranges up quite a lot, quite quickly, and the jackpot was something huge the last time we talked about this, and it's back at 100 million now for this Friday. And I think you said, Chris, we're both going to have to play it now. And then if one of us doesn't show up next week, then well.
But if one of us wins it, we have to show up. That's
talk about what we've done.
The parting shot before we travel the world or whatever.
What's the first thing we spend money on? Yeah. So okay, there's two bits to this. There's the kind of frivolous conversation, and then there's the serious bit, which is where we're probably not going to dwell on too long. But okay, 100 million pounds. You win the Euro Millions, Chris. What is the first thing you're doing? What's the frivolous thing you're doing?
Oh God, frivolous. I don't know. I'm really boring, Ed. I think we've established this. Like, I think I'm moving house. I think I'm moving to a different part of London. I love my home and I love where I live, the street that I live on. But I would probably get a bigger place.
Mm-hmm.
So immediately on the phone to, or on Rightmove.
On Rightmove.
Or whatever.
Do Rightmove have like an ultra premium high net worth?
Maybe they don't, do they? Maybe they don't. So I'm doing that, and I may even keep the place that I've got just for So yeah, starting a property portfolio immediately.
So you're going to become a land baron? That's it, basically.
I don't know about that. I just see what goes from there.
Horrible landlord.
I did some maths today earlier, Ed, and weirdly calculated my family's financial net worth, and it's way lower than I thought it would be. If you asked 18-year-old me, linked in arms with my other friends, shouting Champagne Supernova into the sky over Wembley.
If you're calculating net worth like that, what are you doing? Are you putting your mortgage on that balance sheet? Or,
yeah, so
because I'm just going to end up in negative if I do that.
I'm being dramatic. It's not that bad. When I did a bit of Googling around this, and actually it's sort of in and around the average. But when you think about the aspirations that you have, and apparently the average is skewed a lot by high net worth individuals. So, but what that did then prompt me to think about, well, how is my money balanced out? So what I'm doing, Ed, is taking my mortgage off the equity that's within it, and you add that whatever money is left to your net worth, plus your savings, plus what your possessions are worth, what you've got in like pensions, that kind of thing. And what it revealed to me, rather than sort of going, oh, okay, and then looking at the averages and going, well, actually, you shouldn't be complaining too much, was just that I don't have enough money in my pension. So I'm thinking about retirement a bit more. If I win, that's not the first thing I think about, but that's definitely on there. I'm also giving some money away to friends and family, I think. Particularly family, kind of giving them a leg up as well. I would want to keep it pretty quiet, though. I do remember hearing Jay-Z giving an interview on Twitter saying that when he got rich, he just couldn't go to family dues anymore because everyone would just be like, I just need £500,000 and I can turn this business into whatever. And it's just like, mate, I just want to sit in the pumpkin pie or whatever it is they do in America. So, yeah.
That's that famous internet meme, isn't it? It's like, if I won the lottery, I wouldn't tell anyone, but there would be signs, and it's like a picture of somebody with like a house filled with cats or something like that. Something really mad that they've done.
Yeah, I'd go somewhere down that route. I mean, travel is the other big thing. I'm not a big sort of clothes car thing, but what I think that would do is just like open the door to travel and, maybe just going around the world. And concentrating on some other pet projects, things like that. So, yeah, I think all the boring things really. Get some property, sort out my retirement, pensions, things, so that's all boxed off. Maybe speak to one of these financial advisors that we might speak to in the future about it. And then, travel. I'm off around the world. I really like that show, Race Across the World. I don't know if you've seen that on BBC.
Yeah.
Where they give people a budget. So I do that, but not on a budget. Go and really enjoy
in luxury and comfort. Yeah,
exactly.
5-star everywhere, 7-star if you go to Dubai, because they have 7 stars in Dubai.
There we go. Everything's a bit extra there, isn't it? What would you do, Ed? Hit me.
I know it's kind of boring, isn't it? But it's like the same. I'd go off traveling for a long time, take the family, be very comfortable doing that, and then buy some nice property. I guess just buy a big house out here in Devon, maybe.
Not much to ask for, is it?
Privately educate my kids, you know,
would
that
you?
kind of thing. Oh,
would 100 million cover that?
Not with the VAT now. VAT these days, Chris. Scrimping and saving for the 100 millionaires. Billionaires came out as
God.
No, I mean, you know, you do. I think look. The thing is it's easy to just kind of sit and be like, oh, yeah, no, I'm going to do all these things, and I probably would go and buy myself a silly car that I don't need and that kind of thing, because at the moment we have, you know, a functional family car, and that's fine. But I would also quite like a ludicrous 4x4. You know, what's too much to ask?
Yeah. They should call the brand that. Ford released the ludicrous.
Trying to get my Hummer down the Devon lanes where I live.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, well, it wouldn't be funny. We actually went camping at the weekend and borrowed a camper van, and that, I mean, it gets very scary very quickly when you're on single lane roads and you get stuck and you have to start reversing and you're in a van, and it's not actually enjoyable. So maybe a helicopter, and I don't have to take the roads at all.
You get the license. I don't have a driving license, so maybe I'd invest in a nice push bike.
Oh, you're such a Londoner, Chris.
I was growing up in Zone 2. License. I went to Oasis gigs for £27.50 and travelled to Prague. That's what I did with my driving lesson money.
I lived out in the countryside and I learned how to commute, Chris. All right, we are not the same.
I think a helicopter would be fun, but again, it's like I was quite struck by. I saw a story yesterday about the Peloton CEO on the cycling theme. I don't know if you saw that, but he said that he had to sell some of his possessions because Peloton crashed so hard. So the headline was on Yahoo was "Riches to Rags," and basically its valuation skyrocketed to about £8 billion and nearly £50 billion by the end of 2020, and then he left in 2022, and apparently he had lost 87% of his wealth. It evaporated. So he went from a peak personal fortune of 1.9 billion to what was last reported around 225 million. And then apparently, he had to sell some of his stuff in order to kind of keep things going. It just shows how quickly that can turn. So the sensible financial planning that we're talking about, as well as your helicopter, Ed, is probably wise, and it is probably worth talking to someone when we win on Friday, or if we don't, just in case we do it in the future.
Yeah, no, I think. Look, I mean, it's a fun chat, and I think it's the kind of thing you might be given to daydreaming about for 5 minutes. You know, if I win £100 million, but actually, when you think about it, the implications of what £100 million look like in terms of the potential tax and where you put it and all this kind of stuff and what you do with it. It spirals quite quickly, right? So, and I mean, I'm pretty sure, I'm not 100% sure, but I'm fairly sure that they offer people, immediate access to financial advice when people do win big lotteries like that.
So they do they? What, in the UK, Camelot, or whatever?
I'm pretty sure they do. Is it Camelot anymore who does it? I think it might be somebody else now.
Sorry to whoever does it. We're going to put that in the show notes as well and see if we can contact them.
Yeah,
I'd like to know what that is.
I mean, I'm pretty sure I've read up on it before. They do offer them advice and that kind of thing. And that, I mean, that's what I'd love to find out more about. I mean, genuinely don't know that much about. I'm sure there are high net worth advisors out there. You've had a big windfall, because I'm sure people inherit a massive estate, or like the Duke of Westminster or whoever like that. Somebody's advising him on his affairs when he becomes a Duke of Westminster and all that kind of stuff. And I know we're not here to kind of have billionaires, billionaire financial management chat, but I do find it interesting. What do you do? And I think we talked to another colleague of ours, Jenny, who she was very keen on the idea of setting up a charitable foundation and giving away most of the money. And people have really great ideas like that. And how do you make that function in a way that's self-sustaining, doesn't end up getting just hammered by tax and that kind of thing. I think there's lots of interesting stuff there. So yeah, anybody out there listening who has an idea and would like to chat to us about it, this is an open call.
Get in touch, guys. We want to hear about how you're going to help the soon-to-be centimillionaire Edmund Greaves.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
it's nailed on, guaranteed. So before I get there, we were going to talk about the last thing we were going to talk about quickly. We'll keep it fairly quick on this occasion because we are running. Before I become a centimillionaire, is that the right term? It must be.
Don't know. I just threw it out there.
I'm going to let you have it. Is childcare, because and I've mentioned it before. My son is now 10 months old. My wife Ellen has just gone back to work, finished her maternity leave. And yeah, we are now in the process of, well, we've actually got all the childcare and stuff sorted out, but I've had to do all the different childcare stuff. And Chris, it is an absolute nightmare. And I cannot believe that they have this system in place and that hard-working parents who have less time than I do to fiddle about on the childcare website, I would be astonished if lots and lots of people basically aren't getting the help that they need because it's all just it's a huge hassle, basically. So, I mean, I'm sure you've got a young child. I mean, you've been through it.
We've got a 3-year-old and another one where on the way imminently, like could literally be any second. I might have to leave this podcast early if my phone goes. We found it first and foremost. Initially, I think they changed the rules when Erin got a bit older than 2. So we just recently qualified for some free assistance. I know you found it harder than I said, I think, but haven't found it that difficult, although it does seem like the system could do with improving quite drastically. So I think we get some free hours alongside paying what we're paying. And Tanya, my wife, sort of deals with it. She sends off to I think it's the HMRC, I think. And they come back with, green light, you can carry on. So we had to provide some credentials about what we earn and self-declare some stuff. And then they've been happy about it. I presume they check that the other side with the access they have to the information. So it's helpful, all helpful, not look a gift horse in the mouth here, but also, I think the whole thing, root and branch, could do with a look at, like many things here, because you start ending up back in that land of unintended consequences with this kind of thing. And people end up sort of having to jump through all sorts of bizarre hoops in order to make sure they qualify for it. And it acts as a disincentive for other sort of things in terms of pushing people into different earnings brackets and things like that. So, it's a major contentious issue in my life. And I think it's proven to be for a lot of other people. How have you found it?
Yeah, I mean, look, the system it's fiddly and all this kind of stuff, and it's counterintuitive. So like doing the tax-free childcare account is fiddly, and I spend a lot of time trying to get that arranged. And then it's just other mad stuff, like you have to reconfirm your details every 3 months, otherwise you lose the entitlement and that kind of thing. And it's like, I'm having to put calendar reminders in to make sure I don't screw that up.
Yeah.
There was a really interesting story today, actually, by Asma Day at iNews from Pregnant Then Screwed, actually, about, and this is shocking for me. So obviously, because Cosmo, my son's 10 months old, he qualifies for the 9 months. From 9 months old, he qualifies 15 hours of childcare now because they extended that. But the way that the rules work mean that mothers are having to cut their maternity leave short so that they don't go back to work too late to claim for this term. And it's just, for me, that's like shocking. So it's like if you basically if you don't cut short, because the rule is you have to be going back to work within a month to be able to claim the credit, to be able to claim the hours. So if you're not going back to work before the start of the September term, then you lose the entitlement until the next term. You can't just sign up in the middle of the term. It doesn't make, I mean, it's completely nonsensical. Pregnant Then Screwed really right to raise it as an issue, because, mothers are missing out on 3 months of maternity leave that they are potentially perfectly entitled to from their employer, just because of a bizarre way in which the hours are structured and the rules around it. It just doesn't, for me, it just doesn't make any sense. And it's just like, we're supposed to make this easy for parents so that they can work, they can contribute to the economy, all this kind of stuff that we talk about all the time. And yet the government seems, and this is not, obviously this is something Labour have inherited, but the government, the state, is intent on providing these things and then just making it really hard to actually claim them, in a straightforward way. it just does my head in, basically, and I'm having a bit of a rant about it, and I don't expect any of it to change, frankly. But that's where we are.
Pregnant and Screwed do great stuff on this. I followed their campaigning and that kind of thing, and I think they've had some progress on it. So they shout out to them. I think they do great stuff. As the lady who does that deserves huge amounts of credit. I think that unintended consequence thing, like you say, if it's ending up with outcomes of not decided for what maternity leave should be, and childcare should be, i.e., a support to parents who want freedom to be able to kind of do what they want to do, then something is fundamentally not right about it. And if you're ending your maternity leave sooner than you would like, then I think that's not what they wanted, how you want it to work if you were designing it. So it does need addressing in that regard. And it's so crucial, particularly as, over time, both parents working has become more of a thing and has to have become more of a thing. Society has changed, and that's a good thing in some ways in terms of, equal rights in the workplace and extending that kind of thing. But there's also extra pressure, financial pressure on parents these days. And so we should be looking to try and alleviate that so that we've got more time to be good parents and help our kids to grow up to be, well-adjusted, sociable, happy little beings, boys and girls. So I think they do need to address it and have a look at what potentially they could do to tweak some of those unintended consequences, which, as usual, are just muddying the waters, making life harder, causing you and others immense headaches. So maybe you could write your list of things that most annoy you, Ed, and we could turn that into some kind of call to arms.
Like Martin Luther going, nail my demands to the front door of Downing Street or something like that. Yeah. Look, I mean, I don't want to look a gift horse in the mouth because the stuff is really, is very valuable. Getting the tax-free childcare stuff, it's saving us a lot of money every month in childcare. And then the 15 hours, which is not 15 hours in practice when you actually have to stretch it over a whole year plus term time, but, outside of term time, etc. That's a day a week that we're not having to pay for. Fine. But, and we've talked about the tax simplification stuff in the past and that kind of thing. It's just let's try and keep these things as simple as possible so that many people can access and gain the benefit of it. And we'll all just be happier. We can all just get on with our lives, basically, instead of having to spend so much time faffing with it, basically. Anyway.
Amen. Yeah. Amen.
Right. I think that brings us to the end. Chris, thank you as ever for joining me. Hopefully we'll have you back next week, depending on...
Well, I don't know what to do first, Ed. Shall I sign up to the Oasis pre-sale or buy a EuroMillions ticket?
Oh, maybe do the EuroMillions first, and then you can afford an Oasis ticket.
Okay, good plan. Let's do
that. Thank you, everybody, for listening in as ever. We'll see you again soon. Obviously, you can catch us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and then check us out on places like TikTok, Instagram, and everywhere else. And, of course, Like the Money website and newsletter every week. So thank you and goodbye.